Where a goat can go, a man can go. And where a man can go, he can haul up a gun. This is Fort Ticonderoga on the southern shore of Lake Champlain, where it meets the northern tip of Lake George. Built by the French during the French and Indian War, it was captured by the British and left to fall into disrepair, manned by only a couple dozen British soldiers. Weeks after the outbreak of the American Revolutionary War at the battles of Lexington and Concord, Patriot militia captured the fort and put in so much effort and material that it became both a linchpin of American defenses on this crucial waterway, as well as utterly impregnable. The fort itself lies on a sort of peninsula into the lake, being surrounded by water on three sides. This allows for excellent sight lines with its array of cannons. These defenses are further complemented by redoubts and smaller forts in the area, and especially by fortifications over there, on the summit known to the Americans as Mount Independence. The Continental forces had Ty on lockdown. As the war went on, Ticonderoga was deemed too important to give up, earning such nicknames as Key to a Continent and Gibraltar of the North. Yet it was still somewhat understaffed, and it's for this reason, as well as an overestimation of the difficulty of the climb, that led to a lack of any sort of defenses on the summit known at the time as Sugarloaf. Where a goat can go, a man can go. And where a man can go, he can haul up a gun. These are the words of Major General of Artillery William Phillips upon first seeing Sugarloaf presiding over Fort Ticonderoga. He was working under General John Burgoyne of the British Army, as he took control of Lake Champlain and the Hudson River Valley to the south. The plan was that as Burgoyne came down from Quebec, he would meet up with generals coming north up the Hudson from New York, as well as east along the Mohawk River from Lake Ontario. The plan was to cut New England, the troublesome head of the former colonies, off from the rest of the nation entirely, and the fort at Ticonderoga was his first major obstacle. The British arrived on the 1st of July, 1777, and began attacking the ancillary fortifications. Burgoyne made sure to only attack with enough forces to drive the Americans back. He wanted to hide most of his forces so that the Americans wouldn't know the magnitude of the army coming for them. They captured Mount Hope on the 3rd and set their sights on Mount Independence and the fort itself. They wouldn't have long to wait, because the day before, Phillips and a team of engineers had begun clearing an overlook on Sugarloaf, which he renamed Mount Defiance, and hauling up some of their guns. On the night of the 4th, American forces were celebrating the one-year anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence when they noticed a campfire on the hillside. Native allies of the British had betrayed their position to the Americans below. General Arthur St. Clair, newly appointed to Ticonderoga, realized that he didn't have the manpower to take back the overlook from the British. So he decided he would rather lose face than lose his army, and he ordered a full retreat that night. The Americans loaded all but 4 injured, as well as followers and as much equipment as they could fit, onto 200 boats and sent it to the southern tip of Lake Champlain. The soldiers themselves retreated across a bridge that they had built to Mount Independence. They destroyed the bridge behind them and made their way south. General Burgoyne won Fort Ticonderoga without ever having to fire a shot from these guns. Only about a half dozen soldiers died on each side, and a crucial linchpin of American defenses had fallen to the British. St. Clair and his commander were stripped of their command, though later exonerated. Burgoyne marched south towards Saratoga, ready to meet up with his forces from the south and the west, to cut America in half, to keep it from communicating and coordinating, to leave it to wither and die as the British Army recaptured it, colony by former colony. But those forces never came. From the west, they were stopped at Fort Stanwix, and from the south, they never even left. Due to politics or miscommunication, they went to Philadelphia instead. Burgoyne was defeated at Saratoga, and the failure of his campaign was a crucial moment that led to France realizing that the Colonials stood a chance. They entered into a treaty formally recognizing American independence and declared war on the British. And just like that, the United States of America was on even footing with the British Empire. As for these guns, well, they're replicas, looking over Fort Ticonderoga, itself restored and turned into a living history museum. To get up here, it's just a 1-mile hike up a wide, cleared, paved path. But it wasn't always so easy. In fact, some called it impossible. But to Major General Phillips, it was just an obstacle. In overcoming obstacles, in war or elsewhere in life, I think that's the real spirit of defiance.
Where a goat can go, a man can go, and where a man can go, he can carry a gun. My God.